Foreign ministers from Germany, Spain and Poland and other EU representatives have convened in London for Weimar Plus group talks on Ukraine and the future of European security. According to Associated Press, UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy greeted his European counterparts ahead of the discussions on Monday. Polish Foreign Minister Radoslaw Sikorski said they must mount pressure on Russian President Vladimir Putin if Moscow does not agree to a Ukraine ceasefire. If he yet again rejects a ceasefire, then the logical conclusion is that pressure should be brought to bear not on the victim of aggression, but on the perpetrator of aggression until he feels the pain and becomes more reasonable, he said to reporters. Spanish Foreign Minister José Manuel Alvarez reiterated his support for Ukraine, adding that Putin must come to the table for a ceasefire. Now it's up to Russian Vladimir Putin to give their answer. Do they want peace? President Zelensky, together with all of us, has put on the table a very clear proposal, a ceasefire unconditional for 30 days. That will be the first step towards what we want.
We appreciate Britain's role in Ukraine. We appreciate the fact that Britain, moving faster, can do the right thing quickly and therefore give us the lead on doing what's right.
Will this mark some sort of return of the UK to European?
We need each other in the security area, and not just defense, broadly understood security area. You may not have picked up what I said in Polish. An hour ago, I took the decision to close down the Russian consulate in Krakow. This is because our Justice Ministry and security services have found proof that they were behind an act of arson in Poland a year ago. This was a huge fire of a shopping mall in Warsaw, in which just by sheer luck nobody was hurt. This is completely unacceptable. Well, if he yet again rejects a ceasefire, then the logical conclusion is that pressure should be brought to bear not on the victim of aggression, but on the perpetrator of aggression until he feels the pain and becomes more reasonable.
The Europeans of the G5+ group will come here today to London to a new meeting for two things. First, to support peace in Ukraine, and secondly, to support Ukraine in its struggle for its freedom and its sovereignty. The Europeans will want peace. Ukraine and the government of President Zelensky want peace. Now it's up to Russia and Vladimir Putin to give their answer. Do they want peace? President Zelensky, together with all of us, has put on the table a very clear proposal. A ceasefire, unconditional, for 30 days. That will be the first step towards what we want. A lasting and just peace. And a lasting peace can only be based on the very basic principles of the United Nations Charter. And meanwhile, and we are going to express that today at the table, we are ready to continue supporting Ukraine as long as it takes in its struggle for peace, for its sovereignty, for freedom, and we'll do it in all and with all possible means, including military equipment, and also reinforcing sanctions, with the use of the Russian frozen assets that are in our hands. It's time for peace, but it's also time to support Ukraine.
Desertion in the Russian armed forces has reached enormous proportions. The Russian military police are trying to catch them, but without much success. The traitor of Ukraine, Z-patriot Tatiana Montian, spoke frankly about this. According to the propagandist, the Russian occupation army has a very large number of so-called Soch. This is an abbreviation that stands for unauthorized abandonment of a unit, that is, desertion. And what to do with the huge number of Soch who are running from the Puziki, officers of the Russian armed forces who send soldiers to be slaughtered in meat assaults? Not everyone wants to go and die, like Ernest and Goodwin. People see what it smells like and just go to Soch. And if you rustle all these Puziki about how many of their people are really fighting and how many are sitting at home, and the Puziki are getting paid for them, then such things will come to light. But as you can see, no one needs this. Everyone is happy with everything. We have military police at all the intersections. Doesn't this give you any idea? At all the intersections. You can't drive anywhere. Military police are everywhere and catch such nicks, Montian said. Tatiana Montian called on Russians not to wait for the collapse of the Ukrainian army's defense. The state of the Russian armed forces is so bad that serious successes on the front will not happen in the foreseeable future. The Z-patriot went into an emotional tirade about how bad things are for the Russian armed forces. She recalled that the Russian army is lagging behind Ukraine in the use of drones. In addition, she spoke about the acute shortage of soldiers, heavy losses at the front, and the murders of Russian soldiers by their own commanders. And the propagandist Vladimir Solovyov, who is pushing for boomerang drones, which also don't fly. And everywhere, the guys who are already fighting admit that we are wildly behind in drones. We have no one to fight with, really no one. That's why the front is at a standstill. They constantly publish videos where the Ukrainian armed forces destroy columns of the Russian armed forces. Some comrades still walk in columns and no one gets beat up for it. Everyone is doing well. The Puzikism is flourishing. 1 million appeals from people like Ernest and Goodwin, who have either been zeroed out or are about to be zeroed out. And no one has been punished for this. Everyone is doing well. What kind of collapse of the front can there be? What are we even talking about? No one gives a damn about this war. People are driving loaves of bread, to which they have already welded barbecues in advance, and the traffic police collect bribes of 10,000 from them. How is this even possible? Montian said.